it's easy to say that cost of living is the reason people want to leave, but the reason the cost of living is so high to me is because of the politics that go on in this state. You have a lot higher taxes. You have things like your energy costs are significantly higher. You have a governor who mandated that by 2035, no more gas-powered cars can be sold in the state. You just have this progression to where people don't see an end to it. And so for that reason, they know there's other places they can go where life is more normal, cost of living is way less, and you can count on your kids getting a good education, things like that. So really it comes down to a quality of life too, in addition to the politics and also the cost of living.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. You know, California, the once golden state, is now a symbol of broken promises. Families of faith and patriots are leaving in droves. Why? Because what was once a haven for opportunity now challenges our values, our freedoms, and our future. Tonight, we'll explore this exodus through the lens of faith, patriotism, and the fight to preserve America's soul. Stay tuned. Well, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Glad you can join us. And tonight we're talking about the Great California Exodus. You know, I've been a realtor for 30 years, and I would say in the last 6 years that 80% of my clients have sold their homes and moved out of state. They've moved to Florida, they moved to Tennessee, they moved to Texas. You know, and why is that? What is happening to California besides the politics and the cost of living and all of that? So it's not just everyday middle class Americans that are moving out of California. You know, recently the numbers came in and they were quite astonishing. You know, the last U.S. Census, California lost 2 congressional seats. It has never done that in the state's history, ever. 2 congressional seats. That's huge. So that means that a large enough population has left California to not be represented. They're being represented in other states. And I believe Florida picked up a seat, and I think Texas did as well. So, you know, that says something. The other thing, too, is that with the decline and people are still moving out, you know, if you're going to move out of the state of California and you want to use a U-Haul or any kind of moving company, you're going to have to book it in advance because they're booked up with the people that are moving, and it costs more to move out of California than it does to move in. U-Haul had statistics, and this was a couple of years ago, that it was like triple the cost to move out of California than move into California. So you can rent a U-Haul for a couple $100 from Texas to California or Arizona to California, where that U-Haul will cost you over $1,000 just to move the 2 states over. That's insane. That is crazy, but that is exactly what is happening. So, and why is that? Well, let's discuss that. A lot of reasons is a lot of companies have moved out of California. Tesla, Elon Musk took Tesla to Texas a couple of years ago. Now he's talking about moving Twitter or X out of Silicon Valley and moving that out of state. Tony Robbins. A lot of the wealthy entrepreneurs have left the state. Tony Robbins left California a few years ago and moved to Florida because of the tax base. And I don't know if people realize this, but in buying a home in LA 2 years ago, which went into effect last year in 2023, is that there is, in LA County, there's a mansion tax. So not only do you have your standard transfer tax when you sell a property to another buyer, and it's $1.10 per thousand is the tax. Now, on top of that, if you sell a property over $5 million, it's an additional 4%. And if it's over 10, it's an additional 5.5%. And where does this come from? Where does this ideal come from? Yes, and it's under the guise of the money's going to go to battle the homelessness and do something about that. We'll see. I don't see that happening, but it's that socialistic idea of paying your fair share. So taxing the rich to give to the poor. So that is just a form of socialism, is it not? Is it not? So this next clip that I'm going to play, the numbers are in, and it's quite interesting to see what actually is happening. And because they say that the next census, California could possibly lose another 4 congressional seats. That's a lot, people. That is a lot. So this is Carl DeMeo of Reform California. And I found, and this came out today, and I find this graph quite interesting.
On this chart, and this is from PPIC calculations, Public Policy Institute of California, based on American Community Survey data through 2021. So it's who's leaving the state? Are the poor people leaving? Are the rich people leaving? Are the middle class leaving? Well, now all of them. But in 2010, if you take a look here, we had net loss of 60,000 lower income individuals. And that's continued to be, net loss of lower income individuals out of the state to 100,000 in 2021. They just simply can't afford to live here. Now, remember, we are the most generous state when it comes to welfare benefits. They are still, with the welfare, not able to make ends meet. So they're all leaving to other states where they can potentially get a better job, lower cost of living. Here's 2010 on this chart, and this is from PPIC calculations, Public Policy Institute of.
So you can see that is a dramatic drop there from 2010 to 2021. That's a lot of people leaving the state. And we see that. And is it the cost of living? Like in the first clip, is it the cost of living? Is it the quality of life? We do pay more taxes than anybody else in the United States. We're constantly getting taxed. And now, on top of already paying $1, what do we pay? $1.20, something like that, in gas tax that's supposed to go to fix the roads that are full of potholes. They are imposing another tax of 47 cents per gallon. That's like $320 a year if you fill up your tank once a week on a 20-gallon tank. Just in tax. That is just crazy. Hi, Shireen. Thanks for joining. So it blows my mind that the majority of the state continues to vote for these ridiculous politicians and for these ridiculous bills that just increase the cost of living. we were talking, I was looking over, the cost of living, and I'll show you this from yahoo.com. And I think here it is. No, that's not it. Let me find it. And I apologize. I should have had it queued up. But here we go. Okay. And I'll share my screen here. So the cost of living, this article, cost of living, and this was in June of 2020. But you can see we're 10 of the top most expensive cities to live in California, according to the new analysis. Now, this was per city. So what they're saying is to live comfortably encompasses 50%, a 50-30-20, which 50% of your income pays for housing, utilities, and other necessities. 30% covers discretionary spending, and 20% goes towards saving and investments. That is, if you can do that. But here are the most expensive cities. And this is what you would need an annual income afford to live, $334,000. And I'm thinking this is low, because if I do my calculations on how to qualify for a house, in these areas, yeah, you need more money than that. They're saying that the median price of homes in the state of California is $900,000. When I pulled up my MLS, which is the California Regional MLS, the average price in that MLS, which it doesn't cover all of California, it covers up to the Central Valley, and the average price of a home sold in the last month was 1.1 million. And when I did my calculations on, I'm sorry, I got a tickle in my throat. Excuse me. You would need, your payment's going to be $7,200 a month on a $1.1 million home at 20% down, which I'll pull that up here in a second. But this is in Northern California, and this is, Silicon Valley, outside of San Francisco. It's crazy. Irvine is pretty expensive. That's the upper middle class. Santa Ana, which this is insane. Santa Ana used to be gang territory. It was a bad place to live, but it is cleaned up. But now to live in Santa Ana, and I understand that it's close to the ocean. Anything close to the ocean is going to be very expensive to live. $291,000. San Diego, that's expected. $289,000. Chula Vista, now another one. That's another area that has been cleaning up, but it's still, there's parts of it that you wouldn't want to go anywhere into, day or night. There, same with Long Beach. And then Los Angeles, if you can, maneuver around the homeless, then, but for $276,000 a year, that is insane. That's just crazy. I mean, so let's put this into perspective. Okay, so $276,000 annually divided by 12, that's $23,000 a month. You wonder why people are moving out of California. Here's the other thing, is that they said a family of four can live comfortably at $130,000. Okay, well, let's do the numbers here. Just for housing, We're just going to do the numbers for housing. My handy dandy tool as it's loading. And it's spinning. Okay. I apologize. There we go. Okay. So if you can find a $400,000 home, which I do have a $400,000 home listed, it's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 816 square feet, and it needs $100,000 worth of work. But to go in and purchase this with just 10% down, you're looking at a payment of $3,000 a month. So let's figure out here, we'll go to calculators and we'll go to qualify. And I'm going to do this without any debt. So 130,000. Now remember, that payment's $3,000 a month. You have to qualify to, and that's taxes and insurance, as well as principal and interest. So $130,000 a year, you could buy that home. If you can find a home for $400,000. So I can tell you, and let me bring that up and then I'll share my screen again. You might be able to find one out in the desert. So we'll go to InfoSparks here. Okay. Yeah, $3,000 a month. And that's considered an entry-level home. You wonder why people are moving out of California. I'm going to put myself out of business here. So this is the entire MLS for residential. And it dropped for November. The average, oh, that's the median price. What's the average price? I go by averages. It's $1,161,000. So that increased by 6.4% over the month before. So that's crazy. So, but here, let's look at, we're going to go, let's go to out of the desert. So out of the desert, let's do Cathedral City. Cathedral City is just outside of Palm Springs. Okay. So Cathedral City, you're looking at an average price of $556,000. So a family that's making $130,000 couldn't even qualify for that house. That's crazy. That is crazy. And besides that, the cost to live out in the desert, let's think about that. So the cost to live out in the desert, let me, what am I trying to do here? So the cost of living out in the desert, it gets to be 120 degrees there the majority of the summer. So you're looking at 4 to 5 months that you have to run your air conditioner constantly. And it isn't gonna cool down at night. Not like it does here where I live, which I'm about 50 miles away from Palm Springs. And on most summer evenings, it cools down enough where we don't have to run the air conditioner at night. So, and our electric bill in the summer months is anywhere from $300 to $400 a month, even not running it 24/7. So I can only imagine what the electric bill will be out in the Cathedral City per month. depending on the house, running 24/7, you're probably looking at $1,000 a month with the California utilities costs. That's craziness to me. So you realize now why people are moving out, and it isn't just the elites anymore moving out. It's just not the rich people moving out. Here's another clip from Carl DeMeo on the exodus of California and what. And I got 2 more clips with him.
How does this impact you? I'm glad you asked.
Yeah.
As wealthy people flee the state, there will be less tax revenue in state coffers. The wealthy people, because California's dysfunctional income or tax system, the very rich are accounting for about 50% of our income tax revenue. The top 2% of earners in California are responsible for 50% of our state's income tax revenues. It's insane, absolutely insane. And so with those folks leaving the state, there's less revenue coming in, which means you are going to have more pressure on your pocketbook, because 2 things will happen. Either the government's going to have to cut back on certain things that they offer everyone else, which again, these Democrats don't like cutting spending. So they'll borrow and you'll be on the tab for that. But second of all, they are going to raise your taxes. They're going to find any way they can to offset the fact that all these rich people fled. And look, a whole bunch of other people are fleeing at the same time. So when you lose these other taxpayers as well, yes, they may not be drawing as much welfare for the low income public assistance, but you're also losing all of that tax increment at the same time. So this is significant here.
Yeah, it is significant. It's crazy. And it just seems like it keeps adding up. For Thanksgiving dinner, we used to buy a lot of food so we could have leftovers. And depending on how many people we had at Thanksgiving, this year we had 8, but 5 of them were sailors. And believe me, those boys can eat. They can eat. Before, our Thanksgiving dinner would cost us about $300. And and we would have anywhere from 10 to 20 people and still have leftovers. There was plenty of food. So this year, for the 8 of us, and I planned for leftovers, our grocery bill was $450, and there was not much left over. In fact, I smoked my turkey and they ate it all. So I had, for leftovers, so we could have some turkey, I had to smoke a turkey breast, so to go with the rest of the sides that we had. It's crazy. Food costs. They were saying that today I heard on the news that gas had dropped 8 cents a gallon across the nation. Well, it went up 10 cents here. So the Arco down the street, right down the street from me, it was at $4.19 for cash. Now it's at $4.29, $4.39 for credit for a gallon of gas. It makes no sense. How can a family, even people on welfare, they're not getting enough money to make it here in this state. And why is that? And you wonder why that during this election, part of it was Trump. Hello, Connie. Great to have you here. You wonder why Trump won and why a majority of California turned red. Prices in New York are bad enough, but California takes cake. Yeah, it's insane. It really is. It's unbelievably high, and they're going to tax us more, like he said. They're going to get the money from somewhere because California budget is in the red. And with all these people moving out, now I guess Chevron left and moved to Texas. I had to find that video. I meant to save it. And but yeah, Chevron moved out. It was a good clip. Let me find it because it says a lot. On what's happening to California. Here it is. Let me play this. I'm going to. This was I'm not going to play the whole thing because it's a long clip, but this will give you an idea what's happening in California.
There was a time when California was the American dream, a land of opportunity with its golden beaches, technological hubs, and a staggering GDP approaching $4 trillion. Even today, it remains the unrivaled champion of the American economy. If California were a nation, it would stand as the fifth largest economy in the world, outpacing countries like the United Kingdom and India. But what was once a dream has turned into an all-American nightmare for many. California, the land of opportunity, now harbors half of America's unsheltered homeless population, while its state government grapples with deficits in the tens of billions. In the last decade, millions have left the state, fleeing the escalating cost of living, high taxes, and perhaps most notably, a housing crisis that's forced millions into poverty. And while California falters, Texas is rising. A state poised to challenge California's throne as America's economic powerhouse. Texas has attracted major players like Elon Musk's Tesla, now boasting the largest export economy in the U.S. Its population is skyrocketing, adding more people this millennium than any other state. In fact, it's projected that Texas could surpass California as America's most populous state within the next 30 years. So, how do we get here? How did the balance of power shift so dramatically? Let's rewind to 1978, a pivotal year in California's history. The introduction of Proposition 13, a law designed to curb soaring property taxes, seemed like a victory for homeowners. Property taxes were capped at 1% of a property's assessed value, and crucially, they couldn't increase by more than 2% annually, regardless of how much the property's value rose. At first, this seemed like a blessing, but as inflation and home values soared, the taxes didn't keep pace. Over time, this cap created a paradox. While California's economy grew, its property tax revenues didn't. Take this example. If you bought a modest home in 1978 for $80,000, you pay less than $2,000 in property taxes today. But that same home, now worth $750,000, means newer buyers are paying upwards of $18,000 in taxes annually. This disparity has created a monumental incentive for Californians to hold on to their homes, tightening the housing supply and making it harder for new buyers to enter the market. The dream of owning a home is becoming increasingly elusive. House prices here have soared far above the national average, even when you account for higher wages. It's no wonder California ranks the lowest in home ownership nationwide. The result? A homeless crisis like no other, with California at the epicenter. The state's economy is thriving.
That wasn't the clip, but that was a good one. And it's true. Proposition 13 caps property taxes at 1%. That doesn't mean that there can't be some special assessments to add on, like here when Mr. Mello and Mr. Roos put a bill through the through the state legislator that said it can tack on special assessments, but it cannot be permanent. So we have these, well, they started off being 10-year bonds and now they're 30-year bonds, which now through legislation can now be renewed. So they might as well be a tax. So to purchase a brand new home, a newly built home, you're going to be paying taxes of about 2%, which is still low compared to other states in the nation. Because I think like Illinois is like at 5%, which is crazy. That's insane to own a home, but their prices are lower. Can you imagine? So if you're looking out in Cathedral City at an average home price of $556,000 and 2% tax or 5% tax, 5% would be $25,000 a year. So you would be paying about $2,000 a month in property taxes added to your monthly mortgage payment. It's just not feasible. It will kill the housing market. And I don't see California surviving any more increases the way it is. I really don't. Something has to be done. And to retire in the state, think about it. People can't retire in the state. If all you have is a meager retirement and Social Security, you cannot afford to live here. It's just not possible. So, but businesses have been moving out, and one thing I wanted to move on to here is Hollywood. Hollywood for the past 2 decades, I would say, has not been filming in California. For one reason, at one point there was an additional tax placed on production companies. I think it's since been removed, but the damage was already done. You know, good old Jerry Brown, Governor Jerry Brown, who did that. I believe he did that. And then, so we went from Jerry Brown to Newsom. So 2 horrible governors that created this mess. So a lot of shows you don't see filmed in Los Angeles anymore. And the majority of them were. You know, Hollywood was the entertainment capital of the world, but not now. In fact, it's rumored that MGM is going to be moving out of California, which that's huge. I got another clip on what is happening, or well, before I move on to that, I got one, what's going to happen with the declining in population of California. This is another good clip.
The state of California has had rampant illegal immigration, and yet still we've had net population loss, despite the fact that illegal immigration is there to offset people who are citizens fleeing the state. So California Matters, the liberal news organization, asked this question, and this is right after the November election. California's political clout will fade as long as population growth remains slow. It's not really a question, it's a statement. Political clout. Remember, for these Democrats, the Electoral College, they are eager not to lose political clout. And so that's what this story was all about, the Electoral College votes. 54 Electoral College votes for California. That's soon to be probably 50 or maybe even 49 because of this. California to lose 4 congressional seats after the 2030 census. And this is according to the American Redistricting Project numbers with new census data. Now, we actually are seeing it possibly increase to 5 or 6 seats because population loss has been so great. And the assumption is that President Trump is going to do a good job securing the border, which means that that illegal immigration offset will not be there for California.
So, but you guys don't realize, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the illegal immigrants get counted in the census. They get counted as a person. And that could be a reason why they wanted the open borders, because they wanted to have more votes. And that's the reason that we have to continue as conservatives, as Christians, to keep fighting for our values and our way of life, and to keep fighting this woke establishment, the corruption that is in Washington and the corruption that's here in California. We just have to be vigilant. We can't back down. And I know that we were talking about, we had been focusing on the 2024 election and all of that. Well, we won, but the fight's not over, and we cannot back off. We have to keep pushing through. We have to keep speaking out. We have to keep talking to people. We have to get our message out any way that we can, because right now starts the 2026 midterms elections, and those are going to be more important than ever before, because for Donald Trump to maintain the House and the Senate, we have to get out there and vote. And we have to get out there and vote biblical values. It's so important. And we need to do that, because if we lose either the House or the Senate majority in 2026, and remember, all Congress members have to be reelected every 2 years. So there's going to be a whole new crop of people coming in, and the Senate is every 6 years, but it's staggered. So there could be some senators that are up for reelection as well. And so it's time to pay attention to who's doing what, who is going along with the Make America First, because right now, I don't know if you guys heard this, but Biden, they just sent $275 million of equipment to Ukraine and aid. And then we're sending $1 billion to somewhere in Africa for humanitarian reasons. We're sending $1 billion to Africa for humanitarian reasons, when there's people in North Carolina, Florida, and Georgia that their homes are still destroyed, and there's no FEMA money, and all they're getting is $750. That should enrage every single American that cares about this country. Every single one. That's crazy. And in California, they care about their socialist ideas, going green, selling no gas powered cars by 2035. As of January 1st, you can't get permits for new gas stations, so they're popping up all over the place. And they're building one right down the street there's another one on the corner, and there's another one down the street that way. There aren't that many people to get gas. Not many people live down that way. And then I had an email pop up, because I'm watching for some commercial property, that the gas station that's being built, the Shell gas station, is for sale for $1.9 million. Just came on the market. They built it. They had no plans to going in it. Now they're going to try and sell it. So that's going to be another vacant piece of land, a vacant gas station, just like the one on the corner up the street here, that has been sitting there vacant for, well, we moved here in 2001. So it has been at least since then. There wasn't a gas station. It had closed before we moved here from LA. So, it's just crazy on what's going to happen. And also, Newsom has asked Congress for like $75 million to litigate Trump. on stuff he hasn't even done. None of this makes sense to me. There's no common sense. We have to do the same thing to California state legislature as we did in Washington. Even if it's by a narrow majority, we cannot let these radical Democrats and liberal people continue to govern in Sacramento. We can't. We have to stand up. We really have to vet these people. And one thing that we can do is we really need to get on to the Republican Party, and we need to speak up, because the California Republican Party, the state, they're crazy. The reason that Steve Garvey didn't win for Senate and we got Adam Schiff, who was sanctioned in Congress for lying and had to do with all the Russia hoax, the Russia collusion hoax that was founded that it wasn't real against President Trump, that he did absolutely nothing wrong. He was Hillary Clinton lockstep in that. Well, now he's a senator. He's no longer in Congress. Now he's a senator in this next term. That man needs to be prosecuted. But the reason that Garvey didn't have a better turnout, and I think he could have won because he's a famous baseball player. He was Make America Great Again. He was America first. He was California first. And he was crazy. He was not for all these crazy legislations that they've done in the last 50 years. But the problem is the Republican Party didn't really back him. They didn't put money towards him. The Republicans in Washington, especially Mitch McConnell, he didn't support Steve Garvey. He should have supported Steve Garvey. He sent money to other senators, but he didn't send any money to help his campaign. That's insane. So there's some serious work that needs to be done in the Republican Party here. And if you want to get involved, the membership for the Republican Party Assembly in your area, and you can find it, you can Google it for your area. Ours is Marietta, Temecula, or the Riverside Assembly. I'm kind of in between, but it's $35 a year. And they have a meeting once a month, luncheon with speakers and stuff like that. And then you can get involved and know what's going on. And I suggest that you do that. So back to who's leaving California. So I allude to it, Hollywood. For years, they haven't been doing productions here in Los Angeles. You used to see a lot of series that were filmed in the streets of LA. And for years you didn't, and it was probably the early 90s, or the late 90s, actually. Mid to late 90s is when I started noticing why were these series being filmed like in New York. And since I'm a Law and Order junkie, it was Law and Order filmed there. And even now, like Chicago Med, Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, the FBI's, all the Dick Wolfs, they're all not here in LA. I know that he tried to do a series here in LA and it failed, probably because it was too expensive. But here's a little clip on what's happening to Hollywood.
Now in a spiral that California can no longer turn around. they've destroyed California. They have made it into an unsustainable place to live or do business. It's just, you go 2 blocks away from, Beverly Hills, and there's tent cities everywhere. It's not a place that's conducive to work anywhere. You can't afford to open a business. You can't afford to shoot a project. You can't afford to live there anymore. They have completely and utterly destroyed the entire state. So I'm not shocked. I mean, people have been running to Canada to film things for forever. Shows like Smallville, all the Arrowverse shows, Once Upon a Time, all filmed in British Columbia. So it was only a matter of time before everything had just started moving over there.
Erica.
And I've noticed that too. Well, we watch a lot of the Hallmark movies, the rom-coms and all of that. And you look at these places and you're like, that would be a great place to live. Where is it? British Columbia. They're filming outside the United States. That's unbelievable. And there, as I mentioned earlier, there was a tax on production. Not only that, but it's expensive to employ people here in California. And the tax on insurance, medical insurance, is going up. People stupidly voted that in, but I think it's because they didn't know what they were voting for. So now there's a permanent tax on medical insurance. So our insurance rates are going to go up here in California. It's absolutely crazy. And this next clip talks about how Newsom, actually the production, it goes more into the production crisis of what's happening here.
Ignores unscripted television right now. The story here, folks, is that after the election, for whatever reason, it seems like entertainment is underway with an exodus to get away from California. And Gavin Newsom is trying every way to keep them there, but not even $750 million tax incentive is sufficient to keep Tinseltown from running to other places.
$750 million tax incentive to stay here in California. It's not working. It's just not working. And so, what is it? Chevron left. Let me find that video, because it was really good. Here we go. Hold on one second. So, it's not only the production companies, they're building some huge studio outside of Orlando. But it doesn't say, nobody knows what company it is. They thought that MGM was moving to Georgia, and Amazon Productions might be moving to Florida. Don't know. But here's other
businesses are leaving the Golden State at an exponential pace. A new report from a research institute at Stanford University indicates the rate that businesses left California last year was twice that of 2020 and 2019, and 3 times higher than 2018. Orange County Bureau Chief Chip Yost is with us from Foothill Ranch tonight to tell us about what's driving the trend. Chip.
Yeah, hey there, Micah. This new report says of the more than 350 companies that have left California since 2018, 11 of them have been Fortune 1000 companies, including one that used to be located just behind me. Kaiser Aluminum is the kind of business many local and state governments would love to have. In 2013, the Orange County Business Journal named it one of Orange County's fastest growing public companies, and it's been named to the Fortune 1000. But its corporate headquarters is no longer at this office in South Orange County, as this headline from the Tennessean announced last year. Kaiser moved its headquarters to Tennessee, and it wasn't alone in leaving the Golden State. A recent report by the Hoover Institution at Stanford University shows 153 companies moved their headquarters out of state last year, more than double the amount that left in 2020, and more than 3 times the number that left in 2018. Between 2018 and 2021, LA County and San Francisco County lost the most business headquarters, losing 80 and 52 respectively, while Orange County lost the third most at 39. So where are all the companies going? Overwhelmingly, just like Tesla did, they're going to Texas, followed by Tennessee, Nevada, Florida, and Arizona. And the authors of the report believe the reason for the exodus is California's unfriendly business climate compared to other states. In part, they say, we present evidence on economic factors that, in our view, are contributing to these losses, including high tax rates, punitive regulations, high labor costs, high utility and energy costs, and high living costs, particularly the cost of housing affordability. And we did reach out to Kaiser Aluminum for comment about the company's move, but so far have not heard back. For now, reporting live here in Foothill Ranch, I'm Chip.
So that's an older one, an older report. So, and they're still moving. Here, here is a recent article about companies leaving. So Oracle's left Charles Schwab, Airbnb, HP Enterprise, SpaceX is due to leave. He hasn't left yet. Well, actually, they're building facilities in Texas right now. There are 85 companies leaving California between 2020 and 2023, more than 100 employees. This was in January, this article. So companies leaving is a reason why people are leaving, because their job's leaving. And where are they going? Texas, New Jersey, Illinois, New York. New Jersey, Illinois, New York, and California are the ones that are losing companies. They're leaving. And here's ones that left in 2023. And where did they go? Iowa, Florida, Texas. This is crazy. Chevron left. Some of these big companies, Tesla's left. More than 100 companies have left California. So what do they think they're going to do? Keep taxing us to death so everybody can't live here? Because if they're losing revenue like that, especially from these companies and all these people that work for these companies, and as that report said, 2 of them were Fortune 1000 companies, they employ a lot of people. So we'll see. But again, it's time to fight back. It's time to really research who we're voting for and to make sure that our representatives, state representatives, have California first in mind, not the elites. We've got to stop catering to the rich, to Silicon Valley. But I think Silicon Valley is crumbling. And obviously Hollywood's crumbling too, because if there's no work in Hollywood, in Los Angeles, then the Hollywood elites won't live here. Think about that. So any questions? Because that's all I have for you tonight. So any questions before I say goodnight? Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you all for joining in and supporting me. And again, please subscribe. I'm on Rumble as well now, streaming on Rumble as well as YouTube at Faith and Freedom Talk. So please join me there. And also, all my merch is on sale right now. It's all marked down, the entire store, with free shipping. The deadline to order for Christmas is December 10th. So we got a week to order for Christmas. So keep that in mind. And thank you for joining me again. Thank you, 2%. Have a good night too. I appreciate you all. Thank you for supporting me. Until next time. Oh, Friday, Faith and Freedom Friday. Join Latanya and I on Faith and Freedom Friday this Friday night. And I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about, but there's some good stuff that has just happened. So thank you so much. Love you all. God bless.